Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I love it. Welcome. I'm Scott Hensey. I am a member of All Souls. Whether you are here in the room or watching online, we are glad you are here. Your presence enriches all of us and our time together. We are a Unitarian, Universalist congregation. Our tradition is a large tent with room for many beliefs and approaches to the questions that matter. It is our values of inclusion, compassion, and justice that hold us together. We seek to build the beloved community, making room for everyone, and creating a world where everyone's needs are met. You may be new here this morning. Welcome. We know that your first time attending a church, you may want to keep a low profile and check things out quietly. We're glad you're here. It's great. We appreciate it. And if you are a visitor, excited to be here, let all of us know that you are. We invite you to raise your hand at this time. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears, you're welcome here. You're invited to join us with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands. We welcome you today. First-time visitors and visitors who have not been gifted a lunch from us, please be our guests for our St. Patrick's lunch today. You need only to pick up a ticket from the welcome table in the lobby to have lunch as our guest. And please also remember, we do have a UU Basics class. Feel free to bring your lunch to the Basics class if you'd like to know more about what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Childcare will be provided. Just simply ask. The celebration of Nowruz is one of the oldest holiday observant. Oh, there she is.
Well, as Scott has said, the celebration of Nowruz is one of the oldest holiday observances known in any society. Most cultures have an origin story to account for the changing seasons, as well as a myth of a great flood that once threatened the continuity of human existence on the earth and expressed the danger of extinction for all the creatures that are our companions. In the ancient Zoroastrian texts of the Avesta and the Shahnameh, it is told that in the time before time, when everything that is was first made, the great king Yamshiata, who subdued the demons and ruled the world, was instructed by the gods to gather many people and 2 of each kind of animal into an underground enclosure to wait out a long winter, which lasted 150 years. When that winter finally came to an end, all the accumulated snow melted, and there was a huge flood. All the beings began to worry that the sun would never shine again, and they pleaded with the king to do something. So Yamashita sat on a shining, jewel-encrusted golden throne and persuaded the magical demons to lift him high into the sky, where he could shine with dazzling light on the whole world, so that spring would finally come again and new life would come to the earth. Some traditions say that this happened when the writing of the story of creation was first completed. It is also said that all the people and the animals brought the most beautiful glittering things they could find to decorate the place from which Yamashita's throne had been raised and to celebrate the new day, the first day of spring. And so every year on the first day of spring, Nowruz, that's the vernal equinox for us scientific types, we humans celebrate warmth and light, freedom and beauty and new life, love and good fortune by reflecting the shining light of the sun and King Yamashita's throne with all the sparkling, beautiful things we can find as symbols of our hope for a happy and prosperous new year. And fire is a sacred thing in the Zoroastrian tradition. We Unitarian Universalists have a sacred fire too. We lighted our flaming chalice to remind us of the importance of truth, wisdom, honesty, and reason, and the power of people freely coming together to create beauty and a better world each new year, each new week, and each new day. Please stand as you are able and join the affirmation of our covenant, and then remain standing as we join together in song. On this new day, together we affirm that goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Feed me the hope for a new tomorrow and fill my cup again. Feed me the sunshine out of the falling rain. Feed me the hope of a new tomorrow and fill my cup again.
The elements of the New Day or Nowruz table, which people decorate in their homes or display in public places, have many meanings depending on who you ask. Traditionally, it is called the Table of the Seven S's because many of the items' names in the Persian language Farsi begin with the letter S, like apple, which is Sib. It is included because the tradition considers it to have a beautiful color and a beautiful shape, as well as a pleasing flavor and a healthy influence. So it represents a wish that the new year beginning should bring experiences of beauty and vitality to all who view the table. The same is true of the traditional hyacinth flowers called sonbol, which are prized not only for their colorful appearance, but also for their sweet scent, which announces the arrival of spring and begins the new year with a pleasant smell. Other S's include serka, which means vinegar, an important ingredient in traditional medicine used on the table to represent good health for the new year. Garlic also represents the wish for health because it is thought to have antibacterial cleansing properties. A dish of sprouted herbs or grass is also traditional. It's called sabza, signifying rebirth and fertility. Samanu is a sweet pudding made from sprouted seeds that are carefully cooked. It represents the value of patience. Sumac is a spice frequently used in Persian cuisine, symbolizing that life should be flavorful in the year ahead, and its red color is reminiscent of the sunrise and new beginnings. One is intended only to admire and enjoy the Nowruz table, not mostly to consume its contents, although fancy cakes and pastries are intended to be eaten both by the household members and by guests to remind everyone of the value of hospitality. And by the way, if you are not close enough to see the table or catch the scent of the flowers, I invite you to come down the aisle at the end of the service and enjoy it all before the new day is gone. This includes sharing a bite of the sweet aromatic pastry, the New Year cake, which we have found a version that does not contain nuts. The Nowruz table is not the feast table which Western imagery has at times rejoiced that all people might one day share. One could ask then, what is the point of it? And I would suggest that it serves as a reminder of values that should be carried into the new year by everyone who wants to build community. Values like enlightenment, represented by the lighted candles, self-awareness gained from self-observation and reflection, as suggested by the mirror. The book of wisdom or scripture or poetry symbolizes the importance of preserving the learning and memory of the past, while the perfume of the blooming hyacinths encourages everyone to let go of any bitterness that lingers from the old year and begin the new year on a pleasant note. A clock reminds us of the old Puritan adage, "Dost thou love life? Then do not waste time, for that is what life is made of." As a whole, it is a table of symbolic blessings in which all humanity might participate if we would share in community and goodwill. And I know it's sometimes hard for the children to see. I used to hate sitting in the back with my tall parents when I was a little kid. So if you would like to come and help me, that we have some fish which are also traditional on the table of seven S's. Once upon a time, they were live goldfish, which after the celebration were released into the local streams. But they were to symbolize life and the flow of time. However, today in many non-Persian climates, this just means that the fish quickly die, so we often use toy fish or artistic creations to substitute for this element. So if you would like to help me get our fish going, come on forward, and you can also have a bite of the New Year cake while you're up here. You want to help? Would you like to take the purple fish and very gently put him in the bowl of water right there? There you go. Yeah. Would you like the pink one? No, put it in the water. Yes? Which? Yes, please. Which one would you like? The green one? Okay, good. Hi. You want to put one in? Yeah. Those of you very patient grown-ups who are going to come and take a look at the table after the service is over will also be able to have a piece of New Year cake. Excellent. Now, everybody is welcome to take their cake with them when they head downstairs for their Sunday school classes, and those of us who are staying here will sing you a song as you go.
The dedication to the offering today is for the All Souls budget. In times of shifting currents, when the familiar landmarks of our world seem altered, and the waters around us churn with uncertainty, we pause to consider what steadies ourselves, our families, our church. We gather today in this beloved community, a sanctuary of shared values and compassionate action, where we find our oars in the water. When headlines provoke anxiety, when social divisions deepen, when the very earth beneath us seems to tremble with change, All Souls remains constant. This congregation doesn't merely equip us to get shelter from the storm. It equips us to navigate through it, through spiritual exploration that honors diverse paths to truth, through social justice work that transforms our values into action, through intergenerational connections that reminds us we are a part of something larger than ourselves. The operating budget we contribute today isn't just about keeping the lights on or maintaining a building. It's about the hands that holds these oars, our ministers, our staff, our programs, our outreach. It funds the fellowship that strengthens our grip when our arms grow weary from rowing. It powers the music that helps us find our rhythm when the cadence of the outside world becomes chaotic. When we give to All Souls, we invest in resilience, both of our own and our communities. When we give to All Souls, we ensure that in a world which sometimes feels adrift, these oars remain steady. These waters remain navigable. This journey remains shared. So as you consider your gift today, think of it not as an obligation, but as an affirmation. An affirmation that even as the world shifts beneath our feet, we have chosen to stand together. An acknowledgement that in uncertain times, certainty can be found in commitment to one another and to our shared principles. All Souls needs all of our oars in the water, guiding us forward, keeping us steady, helping us move through troubled waters toward shores of greater justice, deeper understanding, and more expansive love. May we give generously to keep these oars strong. Please join me in the dedication to the offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create change towards a just and compassionate society.
Our first reading is from William's Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 I saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils.
This reading is from Kendyl Gibbons. And an old priest said, "Speak to us of religion." And he said, "Have I spoken this day of aught else? Is not religion all deeds and all reflection? And that which is neither deed nor reflection, but a wonder and a surprise ever springing in the soul, even while the hand hew the stone or tend the loom. Who can separate his faith from his actions, or his belief from his occupations? Who can spread his hours before him, saying, 'This for God, this for myself, this for my soul, and this other for my body?' All your hours are wings that beat through space from self to self. He who wears his morality, but as his best garment, were better naked. The wind and the sun will tear no holes in his skin. And he who defines his conduct by ethics imprisons his songbird in a cage. The freest song comes not through bars and wires. And he to whom worshiping is a window to open, but also to shut, has not visited the house of his soul, whose windows are from dawn to dawn. Your daily life is your temple and your religion. Whenever you enter into it, take you with all your all. Take the plow and the forge and the mallet and the lute, the things you have fashioned in necessity or for delight. For in reverie you cannot rise above your achievements, nor fall lower than your failures. And take with you all men, for in adoration you cannot fly higher than their hopes, or humble yourself lower than their despair. And if you would know God, be not therefore a solver of riddles. Rather, look about you, and you shall see him playing with your children. And look into space, you shall see him walking in the cloud, outstretching his arms in the lightning and descending in rain. You shall see him smiling in flowers, then rising and waving his hands in trees.
Not by Bread Alone, by Terry James White. If thou of fortune be bereft, and thou dost find but 2 loaves left to thee, sell one, and with the dole buy hyacinths to feed the soul. But not alone does beauty bide where bloom and tint and fragrance hide. The minstrel's melody may feed perhaps a more insistent need, but every beauty, however blent to ear or eye, fails to content. Only the heart, with love afire, can satisfy the soul's desire.
everything is always more complicated than they originally told us. For instance, why can't the vernal equinox stay put? Pick a date. What's wrong with March 21st? But no, the earth wobbles and the sun wobbles, and leap year only partly compensates for something or other. And so it will actually be Thursday, the 20th this year. And in fact, it won't actually fall on the 21st again until 2100 and something, no matter what they claimed when we were in third grade. And because the sun doesn't rise or set like turning on a light switch on or off, we have actually been experiencing more daylight than darkness this season already for a while now, since we get a little extra on both ends. Oh well, never mind. Ours is not an agricultural society that takes these things to heart anyway. You can buy fruit from the other side of the globe, and milk and chicken and parsley and potatoes with equal ease at Trader Joe's any old day in March that suits you. Give the kids a daffodil and be done with it already. The official first day of spring 2025 is coming this Thursday, March 20th. For those of us in the northern hemisphere, it will mark the arrival of the spring equinox and the beginning of humanity's most ancient holiday celebration, Nowruz, the grand new day, the start of the new year, an observance which lasts for about 2 weeks and includes the first meal eaten outdoors of that year, as well as a series of visits to family, neighbors, and friends, and wearing new garments of the season for the first time, which is why I have decided to forego wearing my robe today so I can enjoy my new St. Patrick's Day dress, having married into a family of Irish heritage. It has always seemed to me that the coming of spring might be painful to the plants as they are wakened from their winter doze. Think of the pins and needles feeling when your own foot goes to sleep with the circulation interrupted just for a moment. What must it be like for the trees when the sap first rises, pushing its way into the dry capillaries of 100,000 twigs and branches? Don't the bulbs maybe feel something like a chemical burn as the thawing moisture irritates them into a new season's effort of growth? Sometimes I imagine if I am very quiet, I might hear in the garden a low chorus of groans as the grass and the bushes and the flowers bestir themselves, responding to an urgency as old as sunlight, rousing into the green demands of springtime. I do love the lengthening days, though. I would not want to live without winter altogether, and autumn surely has its own distinctive charm. But to watch the evening light linger later and later, especially now that the humanly painful shift to daylight savings time is over, feels like a luxury. And thanks to Wordsworth, I know that somewhere in the English Lake District countryside, there is a field of daffodils dancing under the spring sunshine. Life seems good, or at least the trend is in the right direction climate-wise. This reminds me of F. Scott Fitzgerald's claim that the test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. I would like to press this concept further because I think it goes beyond just the intellectual. I submit that the test of a person's spiritual depth and health is the ability to hold two opposing realities of life in awareness at the same time and still retain not just the ability to function, but even to thrive. For example, my delight in the awakening of the natural world in the early springtime, together with the knowledge that birth and growth are often painful propositions that in the individual case do not always succeed. Another example. Many years ago, I realized the purpose of life, at least to my own satisfaction. I was suspended for a moment in that twilight consciousness on the border between sleep and waking, when, as regularly happened, a train went rushing by on the tracks not far from our house. And suddenly I was suffused with a profound tenderness and gratitude for all that I love, for my home, for my faith, for my husband, for my vocation and my colleagues and those I serve, for my entire family, for the human race and the earth itself, even for my own flawed and fallible self. At the same moment, I was aware of a deep, poignant sadness that time, like the train, was speeding along its track, bearing all those things and me toward oblivion. And at that moment, I saw with total clarity, and this is the point, and the point and the purpose of living is to reconcile love with time. I knew with assurance that it is only through those beings which are organically alive over the days and decades and centuries that the instantaneous moment of love becomes enduring and persists in the passage of time. If it were not for us and all our mortal fellow beings, who, as one poet says, are born in others' pain and perish in our own, if it were not for us, love would have no dimension, no extendedness. It is because we are tied to time in the sequence of our living and dying that we give awareness and form to the experience of love in its infinite varieties, bringing it into the finite realm of lived experience. And so, ever since that day, I still cannot tell you the meaning of life, but I can tell you its purpose, my life, your life, the life of all sentient beings, even perhaps of the grasses and the mosses, surely the flowers and even the trees and the bacteria. We are all here to reconcile love with time. It is our task, a job that only living can perform, to hold those two most opposite of concepts together in our hands and still retain the ability to function. Just as the darkness and the daylight are reconciled in some cosmic balance at the equinox, a moment that we can scarcely pinpoint, so we are balanced between love and time, holding that tension of immediacy and duration as we stumble through our questioning days. We do it by serving. We do it by celebrating. We do it by promising. We do it by creating. We do it by alleviating suffering, by defending the vulnerable. We do it by grieving. We do it by remembering. We do it by struggling for freedom and by letting our light shine. We do it by noticing a sea of dancing daffodils. We do it by our tenderness to the old and the young and those in need and the oppressed. We do it through gratitude and sacrifice and justice. We do it, I think, through the practices of reconciliation, learning again and again to find reverence in turning toward one another across our separateness into beloved community, reaching out once again to find the balance between love and time, and to let our living hold them together in consciousness. We do it by seeing deeply into one another the truth that you are the new day. During the 20th century, when Soviet Russia came to dominate nations of East Asia, whose religious cultures included the celebration of Nowruz, the secular government often attempted to suppress this holiday as part of its effort to eliminate the competing power of religious communities and superstitious practices. In these places, the observance of Nowruz became an act of resistance against a tyrannical state. As our guest preacher, Reverend David Johnson, reminded us 2 weeks ago, the practices of joy are often forms of resistance against the forces of tyranny, which is why the observance of the celebration of beauty and joy can be a witness of solidarity with our neighbors in Ukraine as they fight to maintain their freedom against Russian aggression. May their struggle prosper. And so I invite you to ponder, if you were to design a table of symbolic New Year blessings for community, what would you put on it, and what would those things mean? Our own two ancestral faiths each have a distinctive perspective on how to practice reconciliation, and both not surprisingly involve the participation of God, on the assumption that alienation in the human community also represents a disruption to the divine intention for just and peaceful relationships. The Jewish tradition of Yom Kippur appears to have begun in ancient times as an annual ritual for purifying the temple from any accidental, unnoticed defilements that might have occurred during the preceding year. Then in the Jewish diaspora, after the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of the temple by Roman troops, the observance of Yom Kippur became an occasion of both personal and collective confession. So in the autumn of each year, individuals seek to recognize and atone for their sins, including both the transgressions that they have done to other people and the ways they may have broken God's commandments. The tradition of teshuvah, or repentance, calls upon the person who has wronged someone else to approach that individual or group and correct the situation in whatever way is possible. The philosopher Abraham Joshua Heschel once wrote, "According to Jewish tradition, even God himself can only forgive sins committed against himself, not those against members of our human community. You cannot be reconciled with God until you have first been reconciled with your fellow human beings." Jesus himself picks up on this tradition as reported in the Gospel of Matthew when he instructs, "If you are presenting your offering at the altar and there remember that your brother has some just cause against you, leave your sacrifice there before the altar and go first be reconciled to your brother, and then come and present your offering." In short, your connection with the holy will never be any better than the way you treat the people around you. The ethical theories of the Enlightenment dispense with the idea of being reconciled to an offended deity. Indeed, they mostly appear to have dispensed with the concept of reconciliation altogether. The emphasis on individual integrity and conscience substituted human dignity and well-being in place of the arbitrary commands of divine purity as the measure of morality, which most of us would probably agree was progress. Actions are right or wrong as they increase either the well-being or the suffering of our fellow creatures, especially other people, especially those to whom we owe particular duties like parents, teachers, children, friends, relatives, employers, customers, and fellow citizens. A universal benevolence, together with the fulfillment of specific interpersonal responsibilities, was to be the standard of ethical conduct. What this reasoned analysis seems to have left out of account is the reality that we all fall short of such standards, no matter how logical they may be. The problem of human moral failure is not just, as those 17th century thinkers proposed, that an alleged God has issued irrational and sometimes harmful or unattainable rules that sensible people shouldn't be trying to follow anyway. Even when you lower the bar to what any reasonable person can see is best for everyone, we still don't always measure up. We continue to have need of the mechanisms for reconciliation, the do-over, the clean slate, if we are going to live out the kind of relationships that fulfill the purpose of reconciling time with love. In fact, the strict logic of ethical rationalism doesn't totally serve us here, because it would suggest that restitution alone ought to do the trick. If you return the stolen object, say, or supply a true account of the event you previously lied about, well, doesn't that fix the problem? Of course, such correction is essential as a first step, but I think that most of us would agree that something more is needed in order for a truly right relationship to be restored in beloved community. Reconciliation only really happens when the brokenness of trust is recognized and addressed and made whole, when some process of mutual acknowledgement takes place in addition to whatever form of restitution may be possible. I want to suggest that our Catholic friends have a point. I think reconciliation truly is, in the most humanist sense, a sacrament. That moment when any one of us can value the connections that bind us together more than the pride that isolates us. Anytime we can reach out and find that we are met with compassion and understanding, that is a holy moment in one, and our deepest humanity is revealed. I could wish that we had a form for it in our tradition, a day in the year when we were all committed to try for it, a formula with which to approach each other in humility and hope. How incredibly difficult it is in our ego-stoked consumer culture to get the words, "I was wrong, I wish I had acted differently, please forgive me," out of our mouths. New day, do over, start again, clean slate. And here's the really odd thing. This is the only way that authentic trust and beloved community are ever built. We don't bring to birth the security in one another that we so yearn for until after that pain has happened, until we learn how to do reconciliation together and know in our bones that it can happen because it has happened before. It's not the people who've never hurt us that we trust most deeply. You can't know in advance what will occur when one of you lets the other down. No, the people you can trust with all your heart are the ones with whom you have practiced the discipline of reconciliation, the ones who have hurt you, the ones you have hurt, when you then find your way back to each other and bridge the gulf to wholeness again. It is not a skill that our society teaches. We are more a kind of 3 strikes and you're out, lock them up and throw away the key, zero tolerance sort of culture. Or else it's the no fault, never apologize, Teflon-coated, plea bargaining, entitlement power culture that doesn't hold privilege accountable for anything. Those are 2 sides of the same coin, you see. The absence of any ritual or structure for the humble human connections that actual reconciliation requires, that make the new day possible. Is it too much to ask of us in our hubris, in our fantasy of control and perfection and self-justification, to learn this simple need to start again sometimes, to proclaim the new day, to acknowledge our individual and collective fallibility? That recognition which is essential to the understanding that you are the new day, and so is each of us when we let our light shine. What you have to remember is that we are all in this together, constantly finding our balance, like the earth in springtime, a little wobbly and unsure, stretching painfully into the next season of growth. And it seems to me that we have a choice to make now and always. There is a lovely little story about the classical Greek philosopher Diogenes, who was eating bread and lentils for supper one evening. He was noticed by his colleague Aristippus, who lived in luxury at the royal palace. Said Aristippus, "If you would learn to flatter the king, you would not have to live on lentils." Replied Diogenes, "Learn to live on lentils, and you will not be obliged to flatter the king." In the same way, we can keep striving to behave with such control and correctness that we might never need to seek reconciliation, or we could learn to practice reconciliation and let go of our hunger for perfection. Guess which one is more likely to be successful in the long run? Whatever days we have are never long enough to achieve immortality, but always ample for the task at hand, which is to reconcile love with time. That is what our collective life together, as well as our individual lives, are for. That is what beloved community does. But only if we will turn our seeking away from the rigid need to be right and toward the uncomfortable call to reconciliation. Without that pain, there is no flower, no fruit, no birth, no new day, no new life, and no new light to give the world. Nowruz arrives to assure us all that you are the new day. So as the Universalist teacher John Murray urged us 2 centuries ago, you may possess only a small light, but uncover it, let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of all people. Let's make our response in song. Release this flame, but not the light of truth, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of connection. For these we send forth from this place to build the beloved community and carry them in our minds and hearts until we are together again. As we begin a new year of life and growth, remember these words from the Unitarian sage Ralph Waldo Emerson. He says, "Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could do. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. You shall begin it serenely and with too high a spirit to be encumbered by your old nonsense."